Welcome to Roofing Road Trips, the podcast that takes you on a thrilling journey across the world of roofing. From fascinating interviews with roofing experts to on-the-road adventures, we'll uncover the stories, innovations, and challenges that shape the rooftops over our heads. So fasten your seatbelts and join us as we embark on this exciting roofing road trip.
Hello and welcome to Roofing Road Trips from Roofers Coffee Shop. This is Heidi Ellsworth, and we are here today to talk about one of the fastest growing trends, and not just trends, but business in roofing, and that's service and maintenance. Yeah, every contractor out there is thinking, I either need a service and maintenance or how do I grow it? It's one of the two because it is so important. And so we have one of the premier events coming up in 2025, ServiceCon, which is going to address how to start, how to grow, how to just be better and helping your customers to have a great experience when it comes to service and maintenance for roofing on their buildings. So we asked the folks at ServiceCon to let us talk to some of their speakers at the conference so we can get a little bit of an insight and see what else is going to be happening. So I am so happy to bring to the show Chad Westbrook, Greg Hayne, and Kerrick Willis. Good morning and hello, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hello.
Hello. Well, let's start with some introductions. So, Greg, let's start with you. If you could introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your business.
Sure. I'm Greg Hayne of the Hayne Coaching Group. I am involved in ServiceCon and service in general because I've been training roofing contractor service departments, commercial contractors, for about 15 years. And as a result of that, we've also formed peer groups where we bring non-competing contractors together to work not just on service, but all aspects of their business, work on solving common problems, sharing best practices, and things like that.
I love it. I love it. We've worked together for many years in many different places. So I always love to hear what you have to say, Greg. This is going to be great. Kerrick, if you can introduce yourself and tell us about your business.
Sure. My name's Kerrick Willis. I'm a second generation roofer, a Army veteran, and a commercial pilot with helicopters, airplanes, and drones. I have a company called Geospatial Integrations, GSI for short, and we basically integrate drones in commercial roofing companies to show you that it's no more than a tool in your tool belt. So how to use it for photography, videography, 2D, 3D models, basically whatever you need it for. Just trying to help people get rid of that fear of technology and, drones being that primary factor that I'm working with right now.
Boy, and talking about a technology that is front and center right now in the news, and contractors are working with it every single day. So perfect timing. Chad, can you introduce yourself and tell us about your company?
Of course. So my name's Chad Westbrook. I'm the founder of Service Alignment. Me and my team, we specialize inside the implementation of service into a business or growing it either into a driver or a vehicle to be able to get more into the private negotiated world and grow the business.
Sounds great. I'm telling you what, this is so hot out there right now. We have contractors asking about it all the time. So let's kind of start with the state of the industry on service and maintenance and what you all see happening out there right now. Greg, maybe you can start us out.
Well, I think that what I noticed probably 3 or 4 years ago, standing at my booth at the IRE, is that there was a definite uptick in interest by commercial contractors in building a better service department. And I don't think this was related to the economy, whatever it may or may not have been doing, but this was before COVID. Mm-hmm. But I've seen an increase in interest. And in my peer groups, I see a lot of contractors focusing more attention on service as well.
It just seems to be a fit no matter what the economy is. And it's just what customers are expecting to, just like you service your car. I mean, why wouldn't you service your roof or your building or anything else? And so the expectations are there. Chad, what are you seeing?
And I love this because Greg and I go so back. Greg was one of my first coaches coming into this. So not to date it, but like my respect for Greg. is insane. See, I do see this a little bit differently than Greg, though, because when COVID came into play, I was sitting as a leader within a commercial roofing company, and all of our capital went away. And it didn't change the fact that we still had employees, we still had an operational business to run, and service was really the backbone of that. Right. So service, as much as I was pushing it, that was my growth spot, that became the only revenue source. And I think that, in my mind, is what has really kickstarted the service side. And I think it's really opened up to the profitability and how service can be used to be able to grow customers well beyond just waiting for that GC bid invite or whatever else might be coming for the capital side.
Yeah, negotiated work has been always. I mean, I'm showing my age, but that is, working with a lot of contractors, and that was their prime thing. And once you realize that service really gets you into that negotiated work faster or easier, and with long-term relationships, it makes such a difference. I have to tell you, Kerrick, I was just doing some judging for end-of-year competitions that are out there. Most of the imagery that was coming back was from drones that the contractors were pulling. So what do you see happening, not just with service and maintenance overall, but with the use of technology for that?
Oh, well, I wanted to acknowledge exactly what Greg and Chad were saying. And honestly, hit that from a little bit of the same perspective of myself with being a second generation roofer and being more on the production only side. And, for me, a lot of times I never understood when I went to the military and got back from my father growing up. It was always normal for him. They took winters off and stuff like that. So there was always this, I just never understood, like, how are you supposed to feed your families? How is this all supposed to work? So as a business model, when I, now that I'm in my own business and things like that, how do you keep, cash flowing? How do you keep money coming in and all these things, which then, leads to how do you keep people busy? How do you feed their families? How do you hire good people that can be there 24, year round? Because those kind of people normally don't want to work 6 months a year at 90 hours a week kind of thing. So you really have to start trying to figure out a way to pull, dollars in and keep the business going. So, and I think service really helps to do that throughout the winter and helps, keep the doors open and keep cash flowing. But like you were saying on the drone side of things, I mean, it's now we're starting to get into, winter. So anything steep slope is normally a no-go. And, just the other week, I was helping scan a multifamily building, about 6 units there that are 40 feet in the air. Just having 2 people there versus myself going there, flying the drone around, and then even adding in the time for me to process, turn things into a 3D model and all that, I'm still at half the time the guys are in the field. So it's reducing, the crew time and resources. But on top of that, you are reducing things in terms of safety and stuff like that, because there are plenty of times where, as me and Greg were talking a little bit before this, that there are a lot of times where you don't always need boots on the roof. And and that's where I try to say it's a tool for, I'm not advocating for one way or the other. It's just simply there's, times and places for that. And when we start looking at it that way, I think it starts opening up a lot more doors and options.
No, I love that. I think it is always, to Greg, to your initial point, it's a convergence. I mean, we started seeing it growing. It totally took off with COVID. And now with technology, it's like this whole, it's just kind of keeps stair-stepping up on the demand coming from owners and the contractors wanting to provide that. So Greg, when you were approached about ServiceCon and speaking at ServiceCon, talk a little bit about that conference and really how it's important for the contractors out there.
Well, first of all, one of the premises of this, of people that are coming, is they want to get better at service. I don't think that any of us think that we're there to convince people that they need to do that. I think that the convincing is already done. And from my perspective, for one of the great things that the ServiceCon can do is you're going to have all of the best thought leaders in service in one place. Chad and I, we technically are competitors, but I don't think either one of us view it that way. And then Tracy Donalds is going to be there. I think Brian Mitchell's going to be there. And all of us kind of do the same thing, and we all approach it from slightly different ways. So attendees are going to have one-stop shopping in terms of getting the best opinions, the best advice on how to build a service department.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at the lineup of people who are coming, like you said, it is, it's pretty impressive across the board. Chad, talk to us a little bit about ServiceCon and what, just tell us about this event and your experience in your speaking.
So the coolest part for me about ServiceCon is that this is a workshop. Right. Like Greg said, it's not about convincing someone that service is the best thing ever. People are going to be there, right? It's service driven individuals that know that it's going to be a piece of their business. So when you can show up and have the ability to have someone like Greg speaking on his topic, someone like me speaking from my experience, and then everybody else who's there, you're going to be able to get all the different growth stages, as well as, like I said, have those thought leaders together to be able to figure out, okay, what is my plan with service? How do I plan to implement it? And the biggest takeaway that I love about it is that this isn't just a show up and listen to someone speak. It's a workshop, right? You're going to be able to take stuff home. You're going to be able to implement it into your business. And that's where my part, I'm 0 to 1, right? So in order to start a service business, service isn't just something that just happens overnight. There's a process behind it. There's a purpose behind it. And that's going to be a lot what I'm talking about is if you're going to start a business or you want to be able to get into that real extreme growth side, you got to make sure that you have a team behind you to be able to execute the processes and utilize the technology, all the different stuff that comes together.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, getting that big picture really and getting your teams to go in there. And I also like to engage, right? Not just listen. I like to engage. And that's how a lot of people, I think a lot of us in this industry learn better that way. Kerrick, talk a little bit about, the technology portion of ServiceCon and what that's all kind of bringing to on this event. Yeah,
sure. I mean, definitely that's the beauty of being, I guess, the young one coming in here, so to speak. It's, bringing in the benefit of, me being a second generation roofer, and that's, rooftop experience. I've got a ton of field time. Basically almost all my roofing time under my father is in the field. And, taking that and then merging that with technology is so important because I believe as, an owner of a technology company that we have to get in there and be on the front lines and integrate that technology on the front lines. And that's part of what we're wanting to do. And that's part of what, they've asked me to be there for, is to showcase that the drones aren't that hard. That once we get the licensing and things like that out of the way, we get some of the roadblocks out of the way, it really isn't very hard. They almost fly themselves. And, a lot of times, if you can follow a checklist, you can use technology. And I hear so many times, roofers or other people can't use technology or they don't know how to do this or the other. And I just think it's so much fear of people just being afraid of things. Because if you can use a cell phone at all, if you can use a smartphone pretty well, you can use a computer, you can use and do all these things we're doing. So I really, want people to come, with an open mind with a lot of these technologies and processes, because it's a lot of processes that everybody will be showing, but there is always technologies and systems in the background. And I think that's extremely important to be aware of, and how important those are for your base layers of managing things and pulling in data, but also making sure that we're not creating a series of too much technology. Data is the key, right? I mean, so important for everyone. So everyone out there, just so you know, this is March 12th through the 14th, 2025. It's going to be in Houston, Texas. And another person who's going to be on the stage is myself. We are going to be putting together a contractor panel so that we can really kind of get from the contractors, although we have lots right here too, but from the contractors talking about what they're doing with service and maintenance. We also have, as Greg said, Tracy Donnells is going to be there. We have I'm looking, Jeff Broderick and Cody Klein are also speaking, and Will Riley. So a lot of people, if you go to their website at servicecon.com, you're going to be able to see all these speakers. But this is why we had these gentlemen here today, because we really want to kind of talk through, as you are going to there, what are you kind of looking for? So one of the things I want to talk about are strategies. So, and you all kind of talked on this, right? To the strategies of, do you bring your team? Do you come by yourself? How do you do? And then once you're there, how do you take home something you can really use? And Greg, you are like nodding. Yes. What do you think?
So, and I'm sure that Chad will start smiling as soon as he hears me say this. The number one key to building a successful service organization is to have proper engagement from the owner of the roofing company. And if you're listening to this as a service manager, tell your boss he needs to come. If you're an owner, you need to come. If you want to take your service manager along with you, it's fine, but you need to come. This is something that needs to be, it needs to have proper engagement from the highest levels of an organization. And what I see happening in the training work that I've done, and I know this is the case for Chad, the better the owner engagement you have, the more likely our initiatives are going to stick and things are going to happen. Isn't that right, Chad?
It's embedded into the culture, right? Like that's a huge part of service. Service isn't just something that just happens on the side, or if it is, it's not going to be something that's going to be influential into your business. So I 100% agree.
Yeah.
And is it, I mean, the owner, the service manager, anybody else? I mean, should you be looking at some of your super users, your kind of some of the folks, because there's a lot of networking that's going to go on at this event. What are some of your recommendations that way, Greg?
Me?
We'll let you start.
So I think it starts, as I've already said, it starts with owners. And if there are service managers, I think the service managers can benefit from coming so they can talk with the owners, because things have to start at the highest level. In terms of super users, if you've got a coordinator that is more than just a simple coordinator, but someone that actually is sort of like a general manager level individual, they could benefit from coming. But there's also, in my mind, salespeople. The vice president of sales could benefit from coming, because one of the things that Kerrick and I were talking about before anybody got on is that I think roofing contractors are completely missing the boat on the opportunities for them to leverage drone technology in their businesses. I think that we see a lot of the larger contractors taking pretty pictures of their roofs with drones, and that's good. But I think there's a lot of operational things that can be done in terms of inspections, progress reports, so forth, that can be better done with drones that will actually save contractors money. And the service manager, when he comes by himself, will not pick up on any of that. Okay. The boss may, but the service manager won't. A sales guy can go, oh, we can do this. Oh, we need to be doing this. And they can provide some initiatives.
Yeah.
Agree.
Go ahead.
No, I agree 100%. So if there's anything that I can communicate to anybody who's coming, number one, be humble enough to learn, right? That's what we're all coming here to be able to see different perspectives of way something's going to happen. You're going to like something, you might not like something. At the end of the day, you're getting the thought leaders inside one room, and there is no perfect or exact way that service needs to be performed, right? It's based upon the people you have, the culture in your business, all that stuff. I would encourage everybody to be able to figure out what's the biggest problem that they need to solve within service, or what's the biggest goal that they need to achieve in service within 2025, and to come to ServiceCon looking to solve that or get direction on what that's going to be. So if that happens from the peer-to-peer interactions at the tables, if that happens from the speakers, wherever it is, just figure that out first, right? And if you can start figuring that out, that's going to be part of the success, right? The take-home value that you're going to get.
I love that. I love that. That's so true. Yeah, I know. So, Kerrick, okay, you're talk a little bit about what you're speaking about and who, talking to that owner, like Greg and Chad are talking about, or to some of the other folks. What should people be coming to ServiceCon to really be thinking about around technology?
Well, for me, I think it's anybody. Primarily, I mean, what I look for in people, I just like to use the word leaders. It's, and to Greg's point, it's, if the owners maybe not there, you have to have somebody who is a true leader. And that's normally what owners are. They're builders of other leaders. willing to grab the bull by the horn, so to speak, and put it in the place it needs to be and get the things done and make sure all the points are hit and everything else. But along with your leaders, I do like to bring in some low-level people who could be coming up, people who you want to possibly bring deeper into your business. That could be that young blood that you see potential in. Let's see what they can do. Let's see what they pick up on, because I'm always trying to, yes, it's a top-down approach, but at the same time, we have to push from the bottom up, because if the guys aren't on board, if they don't see it useful, then now we're getting resistance. So if we can lessen the resistance from the bottom at the same time, we're hitting it top and bottom. It simplifies a lot of things. And that's how I really like to approach a lot of technology things with the guys is I just want to make your lives easier. I've been where you are. The work sucks. It's hard. It's not normally fun. It's not normally a lot of people's first choice of what they want to do. So my goal is to try to make it easier and better for them and, not add another problem to them. For the most part, it makes your life easier. It's like, Greg was talking about a second ago with being in less safe, more unsafe areas and things like that. You don't have to do that. You get to spend more time, just taking a picture versus walking around, or flying a drone for 20 minutes versus walking all over a roof for an hour. So there's advantages that it does for you. So you get to go home at the end of the day and things like that as well. So I like to approach it at all levels. If someone's got the availability and time, send them.
Well, you know what, Kerrick, let's take that one step further, because let's really talk about the power of networking. I was very fortunate in my career to work with national roofing partners and be able to sit in on meetings with service managers from all over the country. I learned a lot, and I don't even do service. And they learned a lot from each other. So talk a little bit about that power of networking, especially for that younger generation, as they're kind of finding, peers out there who they can talk to.
Yeah, that's something that my father wishes he told me at a younger age and taught us, was that networking and how important it is to network with the people around you, get to know people, and all these things, even if it is just listening in. You never know when that piece of advice or that important piece of information is going to matter. Like they always say, we all have different perspectives, and perspective is a direct result of experience. So I've had that fortunate experience where I have spent more time with my father, where I got to go over things like blueprints and the back end reason of why we do certain things. And I think that's very important, because that's what you're going to get from a lot of leaders, especially presenters and stuff like that, is not just the what, is the why behind it. And for me, that's the most important piece, is the why, because that's how I connect the dots and understand everything. And then if you don't understand everything and you're there, you're going to be in a position to network with those around you and ask questions. And I think one of the best things you can do as a young individual is admit you don't know something and ask for help. I think that's going to open people up more and, make them more willing to talk to you and want to help you if you're willing to admit, and look for that knowledge and seek help.
You are just starting out. We all do. And even it doesn't matter how long you've been around, you're all still learning too. Chad, talk a little bit about that networking piece, because I think, that can be one of the most powerful things that comes out of some of these conferences.
Without a doubt, yes. And I'll talk myself as an attendee, right? Especially you talk about IRE or any other events that are going on. As soon as someone's done speaking, the conversation begins of, hey, could we do this, right? And not just internally, maybe with the people that you brought, but externally, right? So as we get those opportunities to be able to not only hear the speakers and hear the topics that are there, the coolest part is that everybody's there for the same initiative. When you get into IRE, it's a very mixed, right? I might have a residential contractor to me, might have a spec contractor. These are all like-minded individuals, to where those roundtables, right, and those different opportunities to be able to speak with those peers should harvest a lot of good ideas that, again, you can take home, implement. And I go back to the workshop thing. That was the coolest thing for me, right? It's like, we're here to be able to work on our business and go home and implement something, not just listen to it. It's shiny, right? And go back to what it was before we were there.
And that's really what kind of comes out of peer groups. And I know there will be some competitors at this thing, but Greg, we're talking about you do peer groups all the time, to have this kind of platform with all those people. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Well, as I'm listening to this, I am reminded of a peer group meeting I had many years ago where a contractor came in, and this was a contractor that already had 10 service trucks and already knew what good service was. And he announced that he had increased his service revenue over the last year by 40%. And everybody wanted to know what he had done. And then he said, well, from that person, and he pointed across the table at somebody, he said, I learned about something. And then he pointed to somebody else, and then I learned this from them. And then he pointed to someone else, and I said, I learned this from them. And we did all three of those things. And as a result of that, our revenue went. Now that was revenue per truck went up 40%. All right. It wasn't
Okay.
it's not that they added trucks, their revenue per truck went up. Right?
Yeah.
And so that's an example, I think, of how you can get a little bit from a lot of different people that makes a difference. And that's not purely networking. But the other thing that happens in our peer groups is everyone acknowledges that half of the value of the peer groups is dinner or lunch. When we have agendas, we bring our problems to get help with, but then we sit at dinner and we start talking. And there's other things that come up that maybe don't merit a conversation with the whole group, or maybe you sit with somebody that you know, and that's a networking function that also happens. Now that's just going on within the peer groups, but when you're at an event like ServiceCon, you have the opportunity to do that sort of thing too.
I know. And you really have to have the mindset. You have to sit down and go sit with people you don't know and start listening and asking questions.
Chad suggested you need to go with the plan of what your biggest problem is. And I want to add to that, most of these people don't know what their biggest problem is. They think they know, but they're not right. And so one of the other things that's going to happen at ServiceCon is that they're going to discover what service really is. Because service is not repair and maintenance. And service is what you give to a customer. And frankly, it's got nothing to do with roofing. The success of a service department is only very incidental related to roofing. It's all about other factors: communication, customer relationships, building relationships. Roofing's just a tiny piece of that. And most people don't understand that, which is why their service departments never grow. And they're going to get a whole lot of that at ServiceCon, because I know Chad will talk about that. I will talk about that. Tracy will talk about, probably everybody will talk about that.
I love that. So Greg, the way I kind of separate it, right? There's stuff we do, and then there's value we deliver. Right? The stuff we do has nothing that's just stuff that we do, right? Everything that we do, right? We get into those actions of what is the value we're delivering when we do that stuff.
That's right.
I know that's very high level, but they're two completely different things.
Yeah, completely different things. And until everyone in the service department understands that, you're going to struggle.
So my next question was, as you all are looking at contractors going to ServiceCon, what do you see as some of the biggest challenges in 2025 for service and maintenance? So you answered the first question, is understanding what service is. What do you all see as challenges that the contractors should actually have in mind? To the point, they may think they have these challenges, but I love what you just said, Greg. Like, you're going to find out you have challenges you didn't even realize you had challenges about. Yeah. So what are some of those things that they should be thinking about?
Well, in my mind, the single biggest drawback operationally for the successful operation of a service department is the lack of proper training of the roof techs on the use of technology. When the guys walk off a roof, they should be done. They should have all their pictures taken. They should have all the pictures documented. They should have their hours, and really, they should be able to click the button, and the office should be able to send the invoice every single time. And that's not the reality of it. And that is absolutely the fault of the ownership and the leadership of these organizations that don't devote the energy and time they need to the proper training and execution of how to make the technology work the way that technology needs to work. And after you've trained them, If they won't do it, you fire them.
Yeah.
Right, Chad?
This is real. This is real Greg. You guys are getting real Greg. I love
Right
it.
here. I'm like going, okay, here we are.
Well,
Chad, follow up on that. Yeah.
But look, it's ridiculous. If I have 100,000 square foot re-roof to do, and I've done this at the IRE. I stand up, and this is a service conversation we're having right now. We have 100,000 square foot re-roof we're going to do. We're going to put down a 1/2-inch HD board. We're going to rhino bond 60 mil TP over the top of that. And what I say to all these roofers, I say, would it be okay if they left out half the screws? And they say, no. And I said, would it be okay if all the welds were bad and you had to strip? No, that's not okay. Yet they allowed their their roof techs or service techs to take bad pictures or not enough pictures. It's the same thing. And they wouldn't tolerate this kind of performance on the production side. But but good service techs are hard to find. But you know what they do on the production side? They're going to fire that crew if they do that again. But they won't do that on the service side.
So come ready with that. I like it. No, I think that's great. Honestly, as how you look at it, Chad.
So Greg's talking about firing people. No, I'm kidding. From my side, so Greg went very much into the details. I love it. I think the biggest problem, one, we know labor, right? We're not going to find a great foreman. We got to grow a great foreman. So like my question to every single contractor is, how is your helper, the helper that you have right now in the truck that you hired last week, how is he going to be your superintendent in X amount of time? That's my question to them. How is your helper going to be a superintendent? Like, we got to create that career ladder. Now, the training and everything Greg's talking about, absolutely, that's part of that career ladder. So, Greg, you went into it. So I love that. But you're right. If you can't make it out of taking the right photos, how do you ever plan to be able to grow a career within this industry, leading people in what should be one of the best service companies within that metro, that state, that region, whatever it might be?
It's not that hard.
You mean I got to turn it sideways? I'm kidding.
No. Yeah. Yes. Huh?
I think a big thing, too comes down to, and this is just on my side and it comes from the military, it's having the right leader in place that is able to, I don't care if it feels like you're bothering someone every day. I don't care what it takes. So, it's stopping what you're doing now. Okay, now after every service ticket, call me. Until we get this right, you're going to call me. And then we're going to baby step you, because it's also the owners and the leaders understanding, A, can you do it? Because I don't think you should ever ask someone to do something that you can't do or understand yourself, because the guys are just going to push back on you. And then B, yes, everybody has the capability. So when you're showing your competence in it, and then you're just, yes, it feels like micromanaging, but it's the same thing you would do with a new guy. Like Greg said, you got a new guy over there putting in fasteners. Hey man, 6 per board. And next day, hey man, don't forget 6 per board. And you're going to walk over there and make sure you put in 6 per board and check them. It's the same thing. Yes, it feels dumb. Yes, some people don't like to do it, but that's what leadership is. That's what management is. That's part of getting more power. You moving up, you have less time for yourself, and it's more time spent on everybody else and managing things and making sure things are done right. And also business owners giving people that time, making sure that that's important. And maybe, that comes to where I want to work with people like Greg all the time to find out what's all the data. Let me sit here and find out and quantify what the cost is of someone not putting photos in. And then we've got to go back and I've got to take 3 people's office time, which some of those people are paid more than that field guy, to go find those photos and put them in just so we can send an invoice. And I think it's like, if you could start showing them, very clearly, and that's why I love data and technology, is I could show people exactly what's going on and where the mistakes are made. And that's kind of my favorite part, not to be able to catch someone, but to be able to help train someone, to be able to show them where our mistakes are. So that way we can close the gaps, fix it, and then grow from there, because it's just simple that way.
Yeah. And really to have, as people are coming to ServiceCon to look at this technology, to all of your points, to everybody, using the technology to take pictures. I know it sounds crazy, but That's what the phones are for. That's what the iPads are for. That's what needs to happen up on the roof, to use the drones, to be able to do those type of things. I think all of that is going to be a great opportunity to learn from all of you, all the speakers who are here today, but also to learn from each other, the contractors, and what everybody else is doing as we go through that. So, okay. I love this podcast so much. This has been so much fun. I love it when we get Greg really saying what he thinks, because that doesn't happen that often.
Well, then they're going to enjoy ServiceCon.
You're going to love it.
They're going to enjoy ServiceCon then.
You are going to love it. So, okay. I just want to, we got to wrap this up. So what I want to do again is remind everybody that ServiceCon is March 12th through the 14th. And it is in Houston. You can register now, and you should, because there's a lot of great things going on. And so all of us have promo codes that you can use to get some special rates. So check out. We're going to have everybody tell you where you can get that information. I'll tell you, you can get it off Roofer's Coffee Shop. You can find it on there, but be able to register, get this into your plan, and understand. So, gentlemen, here's what I want to end with. I want to end with, what are you most excited about for ServiceCon? So, Chad, let's start with you. What are you most excited about?
You want the real answer?
Yeah, the real answer.
Wait, Greg, Hayne, that's what I'm excited about.
I knew you were going to say that.
Here we get the group back together, and we get to have a great time. We get to talk about service, and I'm truly excited just about being around a group of people that have the same initiative, the same passion for service as I do. That's what I'm excited about.
I love it. Greg?
I'm excited because I am creating a presentation that I have never done before just for ServiceCon.
Wow.
And I'm going to approach the whole topic completely differently that no one will see coming.
So everybody should sign up just for that right now. I'm telling you. There you go. That's awesome.
I am going to wreck the status quo.
Why are none of us looking surprised?
I'm in.
We're in. Let's do it. Okay, Kerrick, what are you most excited about?
Oh, I have to copy Chad, but being a younger person in the industry, I'm excited to meet everybody. I've never really got that chance to meet so many other thought leaders and be in a position where I'm also recognized myself. So it's nice to be able to shake some hands and really get to meet everybody and really kind of see how 2025 goes from there.
I tell you, I am excited to be with all of you. It's going to be my first ServiceCon. I'm really excited. Will Riley and the team over at Centerpoint are doing some amazing work to really bring all of this together. And I'm excited. I'm excited for it. So, gentlemen, I'm going to see you in March. I'm also excited about the panel. So we're going to have some contractors up there. I'm sure all of you will be in the audience asking questions. So I will forewarn them so that they're ready for you. Right. That should be good. So thank you so much again to Centerpoint Connect. Please check it out at servicecon.com. And gentlemen, thank you so much for being here today. This has been an awesome podcast.
Thanks, Heidi.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you all for listening. Please check out the ServiceCon directory. You can find information on how to register. You can get that Roofer's Coffee Shop promo code. Oh, by the way, real quick, Chad, your website, how can people get a hold of you and find out more?
ServiceAlignment.com. Just how it sounds, service and alignment.com.
There you go. Greg?
Hayne Coaching Group.com.
There you go. And Kerrick?
You can find me at gsi3d.com.
Perfect. And you can find all of these gentlemen on the directory for ServiceCon on Roofer's Coffee Shop. So check it out and check out all the speakers and get registered. So thank you again so much for being here today. Be sure to check out all of our podcasts under the RLW navigation under Roofing Road Trips. And on your favorite podcast channel, be sure to subscribe and set those notifications so you don't miss a single episode. We'll be seeing you next time on Roofing Road Trips.
If you've enjoyed the ride, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and join us on every roofing adventure. Make sure to visit rooferscoffeeshop.com to learn more. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next Roofing Road Trip.